Welcome, design lovers. If you're living in a cozy nook but dreaming of a home that feels spacious and full of character, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into the enchanting world of vintage decor, where every piece tells a story and clever styling makes even the tiniest rooms feel grand. Whether you're in a studio apartment or a compact house, these timeless tricks will transform your space. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like, and drop a comment. I'd love to hear your vintage-inspired ideas. One of the easiest ways to make a small space feel larger is with a light, neutral color scheme. Think soft creams, pale blues, or muted greens, classic vintage hues that reflect light beautifully. Pair these with delicate floral prints or faded stripes to add depth without overwhelming the room. A vintage-inspired palette creates an illusion of openness while keeping the charm intact. Pro tip: add a single bold accent, like a mustard yellow armchair, to keep things dynamic. Vintage mirrors aren't just decorative, they're functional magic. An ornate gilded mirror or a distressed wooden frame can double the visual space in a room by reflecting light and views. Place one opposite a window or in a narrow hallway to create depth. Scour flea markets for unique shapes, sunburst, oval, or Art Deco styles add personality while making your home feel instantly bigger. It's an old-world trick with modern-day impact. Small spaces demand smart furniture, and vintage pieces deliver. Look for a 1950s drop-leaf table that expands for guests or a retro trunk that doubles as storage and a coffee table. Antique wardrobes can hide clutter while adding elegance. The key? Choose pieces with slender legs and open bases to maintain an airy feel. Every item should earn its place. Function meets nostalgia in the best way. Don't ignore your walls, they're prime real estate. Install floating vintage shelves for displaying books, plants, and curated knickknacks. A tall, narrow bookshelf from the 1920s draws the eye upward, making ceilings appear higher. Use decorative hooks for hanging baskets or hats, blending practicality with charm. By thinking vertically, you free up floor space and infuse personality. Vintage storage never looked so good. Rugs can define a room without shrinking it. Opt for vintage Persian or faded Turkish rugs with subtle patterns in light tones. A large rug, rather than several small ones, unifies the space, making it feel more expansive. Place furniture partially on the rug to create flow. The worn-in look of vintage rugs adds warmth and history, proof that even underfoot, style can make a room feel bigger. Harsh lighting shrinks spaces, soft, layered lighting expands them. Try a vintage crystal chandelier for reflected sparkle or a mid-century brass floor lamp for focused glow. Smaller sconces or milk glass table lamps add warmth without clutter. Lighting should guide the eye around the room, creating pockets of interest. Bonus: vintage fixtures become instant conversation starters, elegant and functional. A cluttered room feels cramped, but a few well-chosen vintage treasures add soul. Display a trio of antique vases, a stack of leather-bound books, or a gallery wall of vintage art. Stick to a cohesive color story to avoid visual chaos. Edit ruthlessly, each piece should spark joy and contribute to the room's flow. Thoughtful curation makes a small space feel intentional, not crowded. Heavy drapes weigh down a room, sheer vintage curtains keep it light. Look for lace, linen, or embroidered panels that filter sunlight beautifully. Mount rods close to the ceiling to elongate windows. For texture, add a velvet throw or crocheted blanket in a muted tone. Flowing fabrics soften edges and create movement, essential for a cozy yet spacious vibe. Metallic accents catch and bounce light, amplifying space. Incorporate vintage brass candlesticks, a silver tea set, or copper pots on open shelving. Even a small mirrored tray on a coffee table adds shimmer. Mix metals for eclectic charm, but keep finishes muted to avoid glare. These touches of vintage glamour make your home feel brighter and more inviting. Replace upper cabinets with open vintage shelves to create airiness. Display pastel-toned depression glass, mismatched china, or enamelware for a pop of color. The open concept keeps the kitchen feeling larger while showcasing personality. Style shelves sparingly, leave breathing room between items. Functional and pretty, this trick turns everyday storage into decor. Need zones in a studio? A vintage folding screen adds separation without walls. Choose one with intricate carvings, floral paintings, or rattan weaves for texture. Use it to hide a workspace or create a cozy reading nook. Screens are lightweight and movable, perfect for renters. This antique solution keeps your layout flexible and stylish. A single accent wall with vintage-inspired wallpaper adds dimension. Try a subtle damask, botanical print, or geometric design in soft hues. The pattern draws the eye, creating the illusion of depth. For renters, use peel-and-stick options for easy removal. Paired with minimalist furniture, vintage wallpaper makes a bold yet uncluttered statement. Transparent furniture keeps sightlines open. Hunt for a 1970s Lucite chair, a glass-top vintage table, or crystal knickknacks. These pieces disappear visually, reducing bulk. A curvy glass vase or cloche filled with dried flowers adds elegance without heaviness. Vintage transparency tricks the eye into seeing more space than there is. small shouldn't mean sterile. Layer a vintage chenille bedspread, a knitted throw, or a faux fur rug for tactile comfort. Mixing textures adds richness without clutter. Stick to a neutral base with one or two standout pieces, like an embroidered pillow or a woven basket. The result? A home that feels bigger yet irresistibly snug. Steal ideas from the past. Use a vintage ladder as a towel rack or blanket holder. Repurpose an old door as a headboard with shelving. Hang pots from a wrought iron ceiling rack. Vintage ingenuity solves modern problems beautifully. Get creative, every inch counts in a small space. Plants breathe life into small spaces. Place a vintage terrarium, a macrame hanger with ivy, or a wrought iron plant stand near a window. Choose trailing plants like pothos or succulents for low maintenance. Vintage planters add whimsy while keeping your home fresh and vibrant. Nature's touch makes any room feel more open. Stick to one color family for a seamless look. A vintage all-white bedroom with cream lace and oak furniture feels serene. Or go moody with deep greens and antique gold accents. Monochromatic palettes eliminate visual breaks, making rooms feel expansive. Add subtle pattern variations to keep it dynamic, vintage sophistication at its finest. An old door can become a headboard, a wall-hung shelf, or a room divider. Sand it down for a shabby chic look or paint it to match your palette. The inherent character of chipped paint or carved details adds instant history. This eco-friendly trick maximizes space with storytelling flair. Create a vertical gallery wall with vintage paintings, prints, or plates. Mix frames in gold, black, and wood tones for eclectic appeal. Hang art at varying heights to lead the eye upward, enhancing the sense of space. A well-placed vintage landscape can even create a window where there isn't one, clever illusion. Stripes elongate spaces, a vintage trick worth stealing. Use a striped rug to stretch a narrow hallway or vertical striped curtains to heighten ceilings. Choose faded, soft stripes for subtlety. Pair with solid colored vintage furniture to balance the look. Stripes guide the eye, making your home feel thoughtfully designed and more spacious. A tufted vintage ottoman offers seating, a coffee table, and storage, all in one. Look for one in a neutral fabric with carved wooden legs. Store blankets, books, or games inside to cut clutter. Multifunctional and stylish, it's a small space savior with old-world charm. A fold-down vintage desk or a wall-mounted writing table saves floor space. Add a dainty chair and a brass lamp for a cozy work nook. When not in use, it disappears, perfect for tight corners. Vintage practicality meets modern minimalism. Draw eyes upward with a decorative plaster medallion around a light fixture. This Victorian detail adds elegance without sacrificing space. Paint it to match the ceiling for subtlety or contrast for drama. Small architectural touches make a big impact. Vintage grandeur in miniature. Woven baskets are a vintage organizer's dream. Use them for magazines, toys, or pantry items. Choose varying sizes and stack them artistically. Natural fibers add warmth while hiding clutter, a win-win for cozy, spacious living. And there you have it, 25 vintage-inspired tricks to make your small space feel bigger, cozier, and full of character. Remember, great design isn't about square footage, it's about creativity and soul. Which idea are you excited to try? Let me know in the comments below. If you loved this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more home decor magic. Until next time, happy decorating, vintage lovers.